Kurt Kelly here with a bit of a revolution update. You know, my partner and I, we've been talking about, my partner in the control room, the big dad, been talking about questions that we like to answer about Trump and how he's handling this. What Congress is doing with all the money. This is crazy stuff we're going through, guys. It just is. So how is Trump handling COVID-19 at the beginning and still today? Honestly, besides, of course, he'd say, perfect 10, because he's actually said that. He's complete rubbish. There were so many people inside his administration, both on the career governmental side and inside the West Wing around his inner circle, that were trying to ring the bell on COVID-19. Literally, like 3 memos circulated around the West Wing in November, December, and January about pandemic and all the horrible things that could happen. And this is West Wing people. The people he's picked. Remember, I picked the best. Only the best. And these were the people that want us winning. Well, these people wanted us winning. They did. That's why they wrote memos of intel reports of saying, hey, we got a bad thing coming on shore. We better get prepared. What did Trump want to do? With golf campaign golf. When one of his aides finally got him on the phone, I forgot his name, Dad will link the name up here, got him on the phone, he wanted to talk about flavored pods. That's what he did in the meat of the start of it. But how he handicapped the country, as I've talked before, is back in 2017, he defunded the global pandemic response team that was inside the CDC. Bonehead move, obviously. He Tanya Harding the nation, the CDC. So what's he do? Lashes out. That's what he's doing now. Attacks reporters like a pestilent child. You know, I've been in some pretty heated up meetings before in the military, in the professional world and stuff, and I've never seen any leader of any group respond like retard boy. Lashing out? Horrible question, you're never going anywhere. I mean, you're just pathetic. So besides for being a petulant child, he's lashing out at the World Health Organization and the CDC. They're horribly unprepared, they didn't do it right. Really? Let's see here. January 21st this year, you were on Meet the Press, 60 Minutes. And they were talking about there's a possible pandemic. What's going on here? How are you handling this? Everything's fine. Everything's good. We've got it totally under control. One person came in from China. Don't worry. That's how he was. At the very same day, the World Health Organization was issuing a level 4 travel restriction globally. And he's telling us today that they were lackluster in their response and they were playing it down. Nope, sorry, we have the tape. Just roll the tape back. Just because your Kool-Aid drinkers believe every word you say, normal people can see right through you. And I think I'm one of those normal people. At least I hope. So he failed us 2 years ago by handicapping our ability to respond to a pandemic to take money for his wall. When the problem happened, he said, no big deal, 15, soon to be down to 0, don't have anything, it's a hoax, Democratic hoax. Then when it starts getting really bad, lashes out at reporters, lashing out at blames, telling the World Health Organization that they dropped the ball and the CDC didn't do their job. Wow. Never like a leader in history. That's a real pathetic person. Remember during the campaign, only I can save this. Only I can do this right. I'll spare the voice on that one because I think the words are pretty strong. You need to hear them clearly. He said to his followers, his Kool-Aid drinkers, only I can get this done. Then, when the shit hits the fan with something he didn't create, to which all the other crazy things he's mostly created. But this one, he didn't create it. But he botched it so badly that the second he has to take responsibility, what did he say just 2 weeks ago? I accept no responsibility. Wow. What level of mental gymnastics do you have to get down to be able to square those words. I take no responsibility. Only I can get this done. Only I can save America. Wow. That's on the level of Kool-Aid drinking, that's Hall of Fame shit. So he's just blatantly lying to everyone in the nation and in the world. What he didn't understand was we created the CDC to be a first world nation. China's got one too. It was the gold standard though. America's CDC. We worked hard to make it the gold standard. Most of the reason why it works so well, or at least did, is because politicians and lobbyists were never in control of the CDC. It was always doctors and scientists and educators and people that would have all the reason in the world to make sure the CDC was running good for educating the public on diseases. We had that. Then Trump gets in, puts in the best people in the world, lobbyists, and people like that to run the CDC. And you wonder why it's misfiring a little bit? Please. He destroyed our government systematically, and he's continuing to do so. In fact, Gavin Newsom just said yesterday, why do we even pay federal taxes, and talked about secession. I didn't think it would be a week after I said that's what people are going to say, and I didn't think it would be a blue state saying it, but that's what I said a week ago. But that was Dad's actually idea originally. That if the federal government doesn't launch a federal launched plan, like it should and always has, if it just allows the states to be 50 animals in the woods fighting it out for the best mass price, for the vents, for all that, your response, and even if the state, we're a backstop, really. We're a backstop. No, you're the front freaking line. Anyway, I digress. Donald Trump in no way, shape, or form has handled this gracefully or handled it like a leader of any kind. He's handled it like a petulant child. And here's my predictions for the future. He is going to manipulate every number he possibly can about COVID-19 cases, deaths, cases, everything. We have a president that manipulated a weather map with a Sharpie for one reason, to make a tweet he made correct. That's psychopath. That's pathetic. And that's who we have in the middle of a pandemic. You may not like Hillary Clinton. I don't like her either, but I guarantee you she'd have handled this one better. Guaranteed you on that one. Money from Congress for companies. Well, money for Congress. They're opening the bowl spigot on this one. Monetary methadone is flowing at rates it's never seen before. Oh yeah, Dr. Jack, the doc's got his bag, and it's full of goodies. So the Federal Reserve, which is not federal nor a reserve, is a private organization of banks that control our money supply. They don't print it anymore. All they do is do rat-a-tat-tat. They add a few 15, 20, 55 zeros, and we got new money. Well, the Treasury is federal, and they need to raise new money for the country. They can do that one of two ways. Tax the people or borrow it. Well, when you're trying to stimulate the economy, you don't tax the people, because when you take away and then you give it back to the same pool, that doesn't work. So they got to borrow it. Well, they borrow it from the Federal Reserve. Now, these things used to be kind of separate, quasi-separate, not anymore. After 2008, that freaking mess show of a crazy town that we went through in 2008, they changed a few rules. And we're living through those rule changes today. Now, quick history. In 2008, liquidity froze up. Frozen icicles on the CNN news. I remember with the bald guy, Ellie Belchi. No liquidity in the market. That on top of the huge housing bubble and what Wall Street did to it. But it crunched, it froze down the liquidity market. So, Dodd-Frank legislation. This was going to save the banks, just like Glass-Steagall, which they took away from us in 1998. Dodd-Frank was a liquid pile of dog poop. It was cat shit wrapped in dog shit and fed to you. And they signed it, and now it's law. So what did it do? Well, the last time they actually had to ask permission to do all this bailout money. They had to pass legislation. Remember it? It was a big freaking thing. Well, now, after Dodd-Frank, they don't have to ask for that permission anymore. The Treasury is connected to the Fed, and they just print it and spend it. That is the reason they've been able over the last several weeks to put already $2 trillion plus directly into the stock market. It was fun. I remember the first day they tried it. $1 trillion. They put it in at 12:30. By 1:30, yeah. I remember the first time they tried it. About a week and a half ago, they put $1 trillion into the market, and it lit up the night sky like a massive fireworks show. It was burned up in an hour and a half, and the market continued to crash. After that, the next week, that Friday, they put another $1 trillion in, but they were smart. They did it at the end of the day, 1 hour before the market closed, when the president got on the TV surrounded by CEOs, just so to make sure we'd close on an up note. But don't worry, the next day it crashed 3,000 more points. So there's $2 trillion of future taxpayer money gone up in an instant. And that's what Dodd-Frank did. It allowed them to do that without passing any legislation. So Jamie Dimon, in theory, could probably call up Trump and say, I need $1 trillion. Jamie, I'm sorry. I'm offended that you'd even have to ask. You got a button right there in your desk. Push it, push it, push it. Oh, about the stimulus checks? Make the peasants wait. They voted for me. They knew the snake I was when they invited me in the house. I told them then, they laugh. Anyway, get the $1 trillion, I don't care. That's how it kind of done. They don't even ask, they just say give. So this coming up week, they're going to put another $2 trillion into the stock market. Wow, look at that. 90% of the stock is owned by the top 10% of the nation's wealth. 90% of the stock, of all the stock market, that 30,000 coming up, baby, that shit, all that's owned by the top 10%. The bottom 90% owns a few percent of that stock. It doesn't affect, we get it in wedding gifts, and when somebody dies, they trade it on it all day long. So all the gains, all the losses are on the wealthy. So when that gets threatened, open up the public coffers. So they take private debt or private losses and make it public debt. Look at how beautiful of a system they've created. They take private stockholding losses and back it up with public debt by borrowing it from the Treasury. And the Treasury is just buying all this. That's our debt. That's our futures. And they make away with the money. When that stock market now is going back up, public money is propping it up. And when they get to a point that they're comfortable with, my prediction is they've sucked out all their money. It's propped up with public money. Screw it. Burn it all. Watch it crash. And then all the losses are public, and all the gains are private. Then they get to make the economy how they want to in the future, because they own our entire government. They own everything. They own the vote. They own it all. So when the new election comes around, and I'll get to that in a bit. Now, anyway, I'm getting off the subject of how Congress brought in business, or Congress giving money for business. They're just opening up the printing press. The monetary methadone is flowing freely. They'll probably create and pass out over $10 trillion after all this is said and done. What they could have done with $4 trillion of that, what they could have done instead of putting into the digital monster of the stock market and watching it burn up, here's what they could have done. They could have paid off every primary home for every American citizen. Every mortgage they could have bought. We have about $3 trillion of mortgage debt in this country. Everybody would have instantly became a homeowner. All the landlords, and I'm talking about all those renters too, that's part of the mortgage debt because the landlord owns the mortgage. That's part of that $3.1 trillion also. All the landlords would have owned all their properties instantaneously. So instead of seeing 4 or 5 landlords on the Facebook feed saying we're waiving rent, All the landlords could do that because they wouldn't have a mortgage to pay. They'd own all their properties. Talk about the economic relief that would have been just taken completely off of every American. Like that. And they could have done it. Canada suspended mortgage payments for 6 months and a guaranteed income for 8 months until they have a vaccine, in fact. That's what a good, nice nation does that care about their people. They take care of them in time of need. Not Trump, not the Republicans, and way too many Democrats allow the business and the wealthy to dictate what every American will live through.
The difference between national corporate socialism and democratic socialism?
Right. The Canadians take care of their citizens, in France, in Spain, and all of the nations will do this until they go completely bust. And that's the difference between so many democratic socialist nations. That's the difference between national corporate socialist nations, which is America. All profits, all gains to the wealthy. All debts, all losses made public to the masses. And that's what they're doing right now with this scheme stock market. Notice the stock market's going back up, but we have 16 million unemployed. Completely detached. Wall Street and Main Street is completely detached now. It's a fantasy world. And Trump loves to play in fantasy worlds. So that's why he loves the stock market so much. Seems like the cruise ship industry just got all patriotic all of a sudden. All of a sudden they just said, you know what? Norway's a great place, but I don't think we should have our corporate headquarters there anymore. Or Brazil's a great place, but I don't think we should have our corporate headquarters there anymore. Or Jamaica. All needs to come back to the United States of America. And then that's what they did. Amazing. Why would they do that just all of a sudden? Well, they left for tax havens, and now they're coming back for tax treasure. A second, the Federal Reserve and the president just dole out trillions of dollars to their friends. They make themselves American companies, and now they get a line at the trough. Trillions of, well, hundreds of billions of dollars will flow into their coffers. Wow, that's amazing. So screw your patriotism when the American middle class invented the cruising industry. They all started in America, but eventually, at one time, made the decision for their tax reasons to unpatriotate themselves out of America and patriotize themselves to some other nation for tax reasons. Thank you for your wealth that your blood, sweat, and tears and science created our ships, our employees, our market, our everything. But when we can make a buck otherwise and screw your tax funds, we'll pop smoke in a heartbeat. Thank you, 30 years of neoliberal and right-wing domination. That's what it's allowed them to do. Back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they couldn't do that. Those were the 80s, 90s, and 2000s gave you. Any company that wanted to pop smoke in America in a heartbeat. Halliburton made hundreds of billions of dollars from their war deals. Guess where their corporate headquarters is? Used to be Texas, now it's Qatar. I wonder why that is. So the second they can hop on the old pig trough and they're pumping, shoveling trillions of dollars out, they're like, we need to be Americans again. Come on, guys. This is pathetic, and we shouldn't fall for this stuff. We should demand these nations, these corporations, that become back in America, why Americans are going to be standing in food lines here, if not already here, real quick. We are going to get 25, possibly 30%, some say as high as 40%. You know what? This is funny. Remember what Trump said back in the campaign? Remember it? You know, Obama, 5% unemployment, total BS. I heard unemployment's really like 15, 20. I've heard as high as 30%. He said it on multiple occasions. He believes he's heard unemployment as high as 30% because the government numbers were faulty under Obama. That's what he said. Second he gets elected, doesn't adjust the number, continues the trend downward, to which it had been on for, 7 years, ever since 2009, forward. It had been on a downward trend. Continues that trend down, claims the beautiful 3.14 or 3.4, That's it at now. It's over 10% now. It might get to 30%. So look at that. Old Trumpy boy lies to his public, lies to his followers, his Kool-Aid drinkers, that he believes that unemployment numbers under Obama are as high as 30%. It's almost poetic justice. Now, as he is president, the Fuhrer totally babbles a response to a pandemic, and he possibly could witness what 30% unemployment looks like in a nation. That's atomic. That's the only way to put it. It's atomic. The nation doesn't function at that. It's hard to move. Crippling debt, crippling depression. 10 cities, you have seen nothing yet. Go do some research about the 1930s. Could get worse than that. And now we don't have a president to backstop the working people sliding into total misery. Now we have a president that's a sycophant to himself and a narcissist and a whole bunch of other things that only cares about him, me, myself, and I. Wonder how we're going to fare. Yeah, Joe Biden may be a weak candidate, but I'm sure he'll be a better president. Lack of testing. Again, Trump's total inability, lack of leadership, impotency of leadership prevents him from getting something done. But this time, he's doing it for a reason. Lack of testing. Because he believes, like a 5-year-old boy who's been told to go clean his room, if I sweep it under the bed, the monster will go away. Well, this is a virus. So it doesn't quite work like that there, but dum-dum. Whether you test it or not, it's still going to work through your system. So he's going to destroy testing the best he can, to which, oh, that's right, today, federal response for testing will be cut. Now, it'll be totally up to the states and the hospitals and whoever else can do the tests. Wow. I bear no responsibility. Wow, that's amazing. So why is he doing this? Because he believes the lower numbers printed is the better his approval rating will be. He believes the lower the numbers are, that he'll be able to skate through. And he's going to try his damnedest to do it. The good news is there's people like me and more people like that are even more professionally into diving into numbers and looking at graphs and charts and putting things together, that I promise you doctoral theses will be written on COVID-19 and how many really had it and what the body count really was. There will be theses written on this one problem. Because we'll compare tons of numbers of average deaths and we'll find it out. There's ways to find it out. But Donald Trump is destroying testing because he believes it'll magically go away. I don't think it's going to work that way for you, Donnie. Like I said in a previous video, we have a president who altered a weather map about a hurricane with a Sharpie to make his tweet correct. How low will you go to mislead and deceive the American people? That's pretty low. It just is. Say what you want about Obama, but he was competent. This man is not. Trump is lying every day about COVID-19 response. Get out of town. What? This man's a compulsive liar. He has lied every day of his life throughout his entire life. I would be surprised if he knew truth. I mean, it shocks the hell out of me. But of course he's lying to get through or about the accomplishments. But he's not lying in a way of, I have done this, I have done that. It's always so vague that you can never ever pinpoint. Things are so huge. The things we're doing are amazing. Nobody's ever seen this stuff before. Wouldn't believe the things we're getting done. That's kind of what he says. And his Kool-Aid drinkers say, oh my God. Understand it has no specificity. You have no idea what he says. He just used pretty words that you cling on to. And that's what a con man does. He's a con man and a confidence man at the exact same time. It's almost like he was genetically bred to be president of a brainwashed nation. It's almost impressive. He's got 46 to 49% of this nation that just drinks it in. That just drinks it in. And he doesn't nowhere get below 43%. That's very scary. Another scary thing, imagine all his incompetence and all his lying and all his shenanigans. if his approval rating through his entire presidency was around the 55 to 60% normal range. Could you imagine what this person would be doing to us? And his followers would be rah rah shish kumbah. It'd be pretty scary. If he gets reelected, no matter what his approval rating is. Well, the Democrats realized Biden's weakness in time to switch him out with someone else. I believe they might, and I believe that person might be, of course, Cuomo from New York. I believe Cuomo from New York, when you think of the movie The Devil's Advocate with Pacino, you can think of Andrew Cuomo not as Keanu Reeves' character. No, you can think of him as Pacino, the devil himself. Christopher Cuomo is in no way, shape, or form a friend of the working man. He is a complete, total, 100% sellout to the corporate lobbyists and the banks. In fact, here's how bad it is. As he could expand Medicaid in his state right now, all he'd have to do is taxes 0.1%, a little bit more in their income tax, and they'd get like $900 billion in Medicaid aid. He said no to that. Jimmy Dore did a great video on that. So did the TYT, the Young Turks, and several others. So Cuomo would be a demonic president in the business sense, how much he'd sell out the people. In the environmental sense, he might be pretty decent. He does seem to care about that, but depends how much it would push on his oligarch friends. Carbon tax or things like that. He would never ever do anything like the Green New Deal, which we need not only for the 15 to 20 million good paying jobs it would create, for the science and technology advancements we would create out of the Green New Deal, creating more millions of new jobs and entire new industries. The Green New Deal is what we need, but Cuomo would never go anywhere near that because it doesn't mean taxing his buddies. So the DNC may find out or may make the switch. I hope they would, because Joe Biden is a wreck of a candidate. He has no energy, no nothing. I've never met a Biden supporter. One Biden bumper sticker, but it also had Beto on there, so he or she was a little confused. I don't know. These are some of the questions that are on top of my dad's minds that we thought could be answered, maybe give you a good guidepost politically, virus-wise, economically-wise, where things are going. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you appreciate the information we're pumping out. Dad's working really hard on the ones and twos on the digital world to pump these videos out as quick as possible. I know a lot of things are changing fast. But like I said, like, share, subscribe. We really appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.